I'd like to call the meeting to order, show all council members are in attendance. Melissa Head is on the phone. And I would entertain a motion for the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Tonight we have two proclamations. The first proclamation is for Small Business Saturday. Whereas the City of Council Bluffs celebrates our local small business and the contributions they make to our local economy and community. According to the United States Small Business Administration, there are currently 28.8 million small businesses in the United States. They represent 99.7% of all businesses with employees in the United States and are responsible for 63% of net new jobs created over the past 20 years. And whereas small businesses employ 48% of the employees in the private sector in the United States, and on average 33% of consumers' holiday shopping will be done at a small, independently owned retailer or restaurant. And whereas 91% of all consumers believe that supporting small independently owned restaurants and bars is important, and 76% of all consumers plan to go to one or more small businesses as part of their holiday shopping. And whereas Council Bluffs, Iowa supports our local businesses that create jobs, boost our local economy, and preserve our neighborhoods, and advocacy groups, as well as the public-private organizations across the country, have endorsed the Saturday after Thanksgiving as Small Business Saturday. Therefore, I, Matt Walsh, Mayor of the City of Council Bluffs, do hereby proclaim November 25th, 2017 as Small Business Saturday in the City of Council Bluffs, Iowa, and I urge the residents of our community and communities across the country to support small businesses, merchants on Small Business Saturday, and throughout the rest of the year. With the seal of the City of Council Bluffs, I do hereby proclaim. Is there anybody here for? We'll make sure they get that. The second one is a little late, but this is our first meeting in November, so it's TD1 Day, which is for type 1 diabetes. Whereas each year more than 20,000 children and 20,000 adults are diagnosed with type 1 diabetes in the United States. And the National Institutes of Health reports that TD1 among people under the age of 20 rose by 21% between 2001 and 2009. And if unabated, the prevalence of the disease will double every generation. And whereas TD1 accounts for nearly $15 billion a year in healthcare costs, and diabetes in all forms costs the American economy $245 billion a year. And whereas Juvenile Diabetes Research Foundation, otherwise known as JDRF, is the leading global organization funding research to end TD1 and is committed to an ongoing stream of life-changing therapies that lessen the impact of TD1. Therefore, I, Matt Walsh, Mayor of the City of Council Bluffs, do hereby proclaim November 1st, 2017 as TD1 Day in the City of Council Bluffs, and I encourage all citizens to recognize TD1 Day and raise awareness of TD1, what it is, who has it, what's being done about it, and to celebrate the people who live with TD1 every day. With the seal of the City of Council Bluffs, I do hereby proclaim. And I do know there's someone here from. You're welcome to say something if you want.
Sure, just a little bit. Thank you. Okay.
Podium.
Sure. Thank you very much, Mayor Walsh and the City of Council Bluffs for recognizing November 1st as Type 1 Diabetes Day. November itself is National Diabetes Awareness Month, so during this month we have different events and social media platform activities to raise awareness, and of course, you know, if there's a fundraiser along the way, that's great too. As he mentioned, JDRF Research is global funder of Type 1 diabetes research, but along the way, we also have support groups, a mentor program, and resources that are free to anyone affected by Type 1 diabetes. Type 1 diabetes is an autoimmune disease in which insulin-producing beta cells in the pancreas are mistakenly destroyed by the body's immune system. So anybody with type 1 is dependent on injected or pump insulin every day. The cause is right now unknown. There are some genetic and environmental factors that go along with it. And right now there is no cure. So that's what we at JDRF are trying to find, and along the way, better therapies and treatments for those living with it. There's a couple things that, even though November 1st has passed, you can still spread awareness, and we encourage everyone to wear blue tomorrow, which is World Diabetes Day. The Woodman Tower in downtown Omaha, which you guys will be able to see from here, will be lit up blue for that. And then you can also go to our website, jdrf.org, and we have a campaign going on right now that's called T1D Looks Like Me. So it's telling stories about individuals living with type 1, whether it's a 3-year-old or a 57-year-old living with it. And then just to leave you guys, I have to share the warning signs of type 1. And so these can be identified in children and adults that are diagnosed with type 1, and it's frequent urination, extreme excessive thirst, dry mouth, itchy and dry skin, increased appetite, and unexplained weight loss. So the most prevalent that you hear when people are diagnosed are their frequent urination and really excessive thirst. So if you have anybody in your family that for some reason is displaying those symptoms, you can, I would say call your doctor, and then from there they can kind of figure out your plan of action. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Tonight, we have 4 public hearings. If you'd like to address the council, please step forward to the microphone and give your name and address for the record. This is time and place for a public hearing on Ordinance 6312, an ordinance to amend Chapter 15.24, Supplemental Use and Site Development Regulations, by amending Section 15.24.040 Fence Regulations. Is proof of publication on file?
Yes, it is.
Have any written protests been received?
None received.
Is there anyone here tonight wishing to address the council?
Mr. Mayor, Michael Pate, Columbia, South Carolina. I'm with the Electric Guard Dog. I think basically the reason we're here is because we made a mistake. We came before you approximately, I guess, a year and a half ago, almost 2 years ago, to amend the code to allow the use of electric security fences in the city of Council Bluffs. We've got almost 5,000 of these fences all across America in some really dense urban areas, and we installed one with a permit at Camping World. Camping World then went out and expanded their facility, ran it on out a little ways, got the permits, put up all the fences, got the lot in, got everything up, called us and said, hey, we want to make sure we get everything secured in here. Please extend the fence, which we did. And we got too close to a residential area when we did that. We got within 197 feet of a residential area, and the code actually states 300. So at that time, we got a notice from the city. We went to the city and asked what remedies we might have for this. They asked us to go to the Board of Zoning Adjustment. We went to the BZA and we were denied. BZA basically threw it back to us and said, this is really not in our purview. What we need you to do is go back to the city council. So that's what we've done. We made a mistake. We apologize for it, but all we're trying to do here is prevent crime. And that's what we've done. We've helped the city of Council Bluffs prevent crime and save you a bunch of money here by not having the police out there every other day, which was happening. So what we're asking to do is to eliminate the 300-foot radius to residential areas, which is what kind of got us in a hook here. I really can't say any more than that. We're just trying to help these folks out. We've basically prevented crime on this site since we've been installed. They were losing somewhere between $150,000 and $250,000 a year with break-ins. We stopped that cold. So you're going to have that business will stay here in Council Bluffs. You don't have to have the police out there all the time, running police reports, investigations, and basically you're going to be able to husband the police resources in Council Bluffs to actually go off and see if they can prevent crime someplace else. If you've got any questions, I'd love to answer them. I'm going to basically give the floor away right here to Camping World to let them explain exactly the benefit that they've accrued from installing the electric security fence. But before I do that, if you've got any questions, I'd love to answer them.
All right?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Justin Walls, Omaha, Nebraska, from Camping World. Kind of like Scott said, unfortunately he got stuck with the flu and stuck in bed, so he can't get out. But you know, the main thing is like he said, the prevention of theft and vandalism that has decreased by $150,000 to $250,000. Hopefully, allowing us to expand. We're looking at purchasing the lot across the street from us to continue to expand. You know, in the Council Bluffs area to continue to, like we had talked about, to, you know, provide jobs and everything. So, you know, besides that, we definitely, I know someone made a comment earlier about, or last week, about asking for forgiveness instead of permission. I mean, it's definitely something with Scott and I just taking over the store that, you know, we wish we were part of that first regime that would have asked for permission, not forgiveness. We're a corporation and it's our store, so we're going to, you know, take it on the chin as need be. But we do definitely apologize to everyone if it looks that way. So, any questions for me?
Is there any reason it can't be adjusted to meet the setbacks? What would the impact on your business be by meeting the requirement?
Well, we'd have to move that fence in 300 feet, allowing it to almost half of what we currently added onto. So the cost would be, you know, pretty large cost of moving that back in as well. We've looked at different options, and we're open for any ideas. But we've looked at options of, you know, storing some stuff back there that we don't have to worry about theft or vandalism. Scott has addressed also that the houses behind us have also, he's talked to 2 of the 3 of them, and they said that they haven't seen problems with homeless or anything else. And we are willing to, in our unsecured lot, like we said, to leave some of them unlocked during the winter times if, you know, in place of need. Unfortunately, it's easier to do that than have people break into it.
Any other questions?
What has the break-in stopped? I mean, completely. I mean, you guys aren't having issues.
It has not. Only time there's been a few break-ins throughout since the fences went up, but they've been outside of our lot in our like customer parking area. Cars left over, units left over that aren't in the secure lots. That's where we came to the conclusion if something's out there, we're rather just leave it open than have them break into it.
So I know one of the things that bothers me is that you helped write the ordinance,
Yes, sir, I did.
and then you completely violated the ordinance. You didn't get a permit. You just went ahead and put the fence up without a permit, is my understanding.
Well, Mayor, we got a permit to put the fence in. We just expanded it to the lot that was already permitted, so we just extended it on out.
I don't know, you got a permit to expand it.
No, and that's true. We did not do that. So my guys made an error there.
So initially, you put in a fence without a permit, then you came to us and said, hey, when we told you we want to let you light it up, you said, well, we do them all, and you talked to me over and over and over again.
Yes, I have.
We talked several times on the phone. Back in the old days, you gave us a best practices scenario of what should be done to make sure that these fences are safe for the community.
Yes, sir.
And then you bought additional land and expanded the lot, and then you just came in and put up a fence that doesn't comply in any way with the ordinance that you helped design. The protective exterior fence is not tall enough. Your specs called for an 8-foot fence. It's a 6-foot fence. It's closer to residential property than your ordinance best practices dictated. And you did it without a permit. And
Well,
I don't know if it bothers these people, but it sure bothers me.
And I understand that, Mr. Mayor, but best practices, you know, were basically overridden by the city staff. You know, best practices don't call for an 8-foot perimeter fence, they call for a 6. Best practices do not call for a 300-foot separation. They call for none at all between residential areas and all others. Those were put in there by the city staff.
By this body.
And, well, and because you did that too, but there's nothing there for that, there's no reason for that at all. There's no safety reason at all. These fences are built in some really dense urban areas. I mean, I go to the city of Los Angeles. Now, no one wants to be with like Los Angeles, I know I don't, but, you know, we put them in some really dense urban areas with no separation between any industrial, commercial zones and/or residential at all. And we actually thought we were doing the right thing. I mean, we made a mistake, a mea culpa. I mean, you know, when I,
Second time you done it.
well, the first time,
The second time you asked for forgiveness.
well, the first time was blatant. And I agree with that. We were just, you know, we get a call, please help me, we're getting robbed, please help me, we go and do it. This time, it was not. I mean, we basically looked at it, bam, put it in, we thought everything was fine because these folks had a permit and we did it.
Not for the electric fence. I think they came down, inspected, said, go ahead, and then all of a sudden, the next time they came down, there's electric fence. They went, oh my God, what's this?
It was just an extension of what we had in there.
Well, I have two issues with it. The first is, it got put in when it wasn't legal to do it. We made it legal with some restrictions
Correct.
that you suggested, and then you didn't follow those. And from a safety point of view, the whole point, I appreciate they might do it differently in Los Angeles or other places, but, you know, the idea of having an electrified fence, now, adults should know better to touch one of those. I grant you that. If an adult touches it, your average person who doesn't have difficulties touching electric fence should know better. But there are some adults there who have special needs who perhaps wouldn't know that. And definitely all kids, or most kids, wouldn't know any better or wouldn't know the consequences. I think back to when I was little, I thought I was invincible. Probably everybody did. And didn't think much about the consequences when doing things as a little kid. And so that, because I was a little kid. And, the whole point of having this extra fence out there in a perimeter is to keep children, particularly, from getting close to that fence because they won't know better. And under the law, they won't know better. We give kids a lot more latitude. You know, if you're 10 walking home or walking in the neighborhood with your friend during the day when it's, legal for a kid to be out and perfectly normal, the idea that a kid, that we put one of these right next to a residential neighborhood, setting aside what that may do to their property values to have an electrified fence right on the backyard. And so their rights, balancing their rights too. But the idea of a kid getting hurt really just concerns me. And the only other thing I want to say is, the Planning Commission was asked their thoughts on this. And it's not very long, so I just want to say so that the benefit of the public hears the group of citizens who volunteer and tell us what they think. And, these are all folks on the Planning Commission who serve for you. Ken Milford says the 300-foot separation distance, that is between this type of fence and a residential area, is a reasonable separation requirement to protect the public from injury. And Tom Holm, also on the commission, says the City of Council Bluffs set a distance of 300 feet for the use of electric fences with an 8-foot high fence around it. Camping World put in a 6-foot fence with no permit. If they would have got a permit for the fence, they would have known all the regulations set by the city. Camping World went ahead and installed an electric fence without checking city regulations. I realize this would help our police enforcement trips or calls to locations. These are the reasons I voted against it. And then Mike Wolf said, also on the Planning Commission, I agree with Tom's assessment. For me, this also sets a precedent for any property for the entire city that I'm not comfortable with. And then in relevant point, it goes to Dan Van Houten, who says, I believe Tom is right on target with his assessment of what happens. And then on relevant point, Lindsay Danielson says, the City of Council Bluffs set the distance for electric fence at 300 feet and height for 8 feet. Camping World did not follow the correct protocol by getting a permit for this fence and would have known this had they done so. In addition, the 300-foot distance was set for a reason, and to change this in one case could potentially open the door for requests for allowances on a continuous basis. And the only other thing I'll say is I've been very reluctant to vote, and I voted for the compromise of allowing you to have the fence as long as it was 300 feet from a residential area, as you suggested. And as looking into it, I thought was a reasonable compromise. I got half a loaf. I didn't get all of what I wanted, nor did you. So a good compromise. And then an 8-foot fence around it so that kids and other folks wouldn't accidentally or without knowing otherwise touch it. And then it just plain wasn't followed. And you know, it's unsafe. And if my reluctant agreement with going along with the compromise of allowing these fences when we're talking about big commercial properties, and it's well fenced away from residential areas and the public, so it's safe and respects their rights too. I'm far, far more likely to push to get rid of them all entirely if we just allow it wherever people want it, regardless of the rules. I just think in other words, allowing this as an exception probably means it's far more likely that we get rid of it entirely, which I understand other businesses are interested in this as an option. If they've got enough space to put enough ground for it to make sense and enough space around as a buffer zone, which isn't many properties on the whole. But if they want that choice at all, I just don't see how we can make yet another exception for you. I'd push to get rid of them all if that's the route we're going. So I guess for folks who want this as a tool, let's use it wisely. And with the greatest respect, I can't agree to it here. And, you know, if there's an expense to pull it back, I imagine that's a dispute, frankly, between your two companies as to the installer putting it up without a permit twice. I imagine the Camping World would have its own recourse, but with the greatest respect, it isn't with me.
I have concerns. You're looking at expanding across the street. Are you going to have any issues there if you need to put that fencing in over there? Are you going to have any issues with the setbacks at that point? I didn't expect to see you guys back here so soon. Are we going to have this come up again across the street? Can you meet the 300 setback on the property across the street? So this is for future also.
You cannot, if you maximize the land. If you don't, you minimize, you bring in, the 300, then it would. But it depends on the planning from corporate, how they'd want to lay it out. And obviously this would be something that Scott and I would bring to them and say, hey, this has been an issue. This is what we have to do. I mean, it's extremely clear what it states. So,
Well, I honestly was very disappointed to read the staff write-up and to see this request come back to us so soon. If you recall, at the time, I was frustrated because although I understand the problems that you've had, we all have problems. I mean, I've had my home broken into, and I don't get to put up an electric fence because that's code. And I'm quite certain if I put it up anyway and then came to the city council and said, hey, you know what, I need this because got all my grandma's jewelry stolen, whatever. That is as valuable to me as the merchandise you lose. But I did go along with it once we got the setbacks in place, and I felt like it was reasonable. I don't think it's unreasonable. I think 300 feet is very reasonable. I think that it could have been met. Yes, you can't use all of your land, but you would have known that going into it when you bought the extra lot because it was an ordinance then that your company was very involved in. So you couldn't have possibly bought the lot thinking that the entire lot was going to be usable because of the 300-foot setback. You weren't going to be able to fence all that. So I'm not in favor of changing this ordinance at all.
I tell you, my staff doesn't think it was an oversight. They think it was intentional. You just went ahead and did it. You knew that it violated it. You didn't get a permit. You hope nobody catch you. And that's what they think.
Well, that's just not the fact, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah.
And I'm going to address Mr. Watson here for the safety. There is no safety issue, period. These devices have been tested by a nationally recognized testing laboratory as to the safety of the product at all ages, being it children, people with pacemakers. We have presented the documentation to the city staff, and it's been ignored.
Well,
Ignored over and over and over again. Now, I could take the fence down, it's no problem, I'll run it back to 300 feet. What you're doing is leaving the front door open. So, Ms. White, leave your front door open and get robbed.
Well,
I don't get to have the fence.
That's exactly what
No.
you're telling this man right beside me.
No, I'm
To
not.
go ahead and open your front door or your back door and go ahead and suffer a $250,000 to $150,000 loss per year, period.
No,
That's
I
exactly
installed
what
this,
you're saying.
I installed the legal security system that I could install legally under the ordinance and registered it with the city and paid the permit fee. So I
That's
did
we're
what I
asking
could
you to
do.
Just move it back. That's all
Well-
we're asking to do.
well-
Because there's really no reason to have a 300-foot buffer. There's no reason at all. There's no safety issue, and that was the reason that it was brought up the first time, was for safety, and there is no safety issue. I have documents this thick.
Well, there's a major
And the
logic.
city has nothing.
Well, I have logic, and there's a major logical fallacy in your argument, sir, with the greatest of respect. If the fence is so fantastically good at deterring crime, and you say that touching it of any age, even an individual with a pacemaker, doesn't cause them any problem whatsoever, then why does the fence work? If it doesn't have any negative effect on anyone who would touch it, it seems to me a deadbolt on a residential door gives you a little bit more protection than that. It can't be both ways. You would not be able to sell your product if it didn't work. And I, grew up in a rural area most of my childhood, and many of my family farm. And I tell you, you go out there and even touch the wire next to the sweet corn that keeps out the raccoons of your grandpa's farm, as I did as a small child. It doesn't do nothing. And that was a small one. It wasn't meant to keep in the giant cattle or the other things. They're put up because they work, and the idea that it's just a logical fallacy. You're saying it does nothing, but it does but we need it because it does everything. That doesn't make any sense, sir.
That's not what I'm saying, Mr. Watson. What I'm saying is that it works. I'm not saying it does nothing. It does something. It shocks people.
Well,
Your
yes.
body abhors a shock. That's
Indeed.
why it works. But you will not be injured. No one has gone to the hospital. No one has been killed. No one has suffered a serious injury since 1939. We have presented all this evidence to the city staff. It was available to the city council. No one has been injured with this. Your body abhors a shock. It's similar to just cruising across the carpet with your stocking feet on and touching a door handle. I'm not going to do it again. I don't like it. Your body just doesn't like it.
Well, sure, because the majority of the body is water, and water is one of the best conductors for electricity that exists to get electricity to ground. And
Exactly.
It works very well, which is why it's not safe. That's part of the
Mr.
deter-
Watson,
that's
if
the
you're
whole
saying
point
it's
of the
not safe, you have to
deterrent.
present me some evidence. You have presented me no evidence that it's not safe.
Well,
Strictly an opinion that is not based on fact.
Well,
I'll give you a fact. The fact is, we have an ordinance that you just violated, and you knew what the ordinance was because you helped write it, and you just went ahead and violated it. Now, that's a fact.
I agree with that, Mayor Walsh.
well,
That is a fact.
My father was a steam fitter in the electrical union. I remember going to funerals of friends of his in the hall who got electrocuted. Now, granted, they accidentally touched wires of significantly higher voltage, but nonetheless, I've known plenty of people, friends of my father mainly, but who didn't suffer nothing when they touched a wire accidentally. The idea that it's completely safe and causes no problems whatsoever just really hurts your argument. I think at the very least you ought to concede that it causes significant discomfort and the great likelihood of at least some physical injury. That you're not willing to concede at least that really hurts your credibility in your argument, sir.
No, Mr. Watson, it does not, because you're talking about AC power versus DC pulse. It's completely different. I'm not even covered by the National Electric Code. It does not even apply to my device. You're talking about two completely different sources and types of electrical current.
Well, you can be electrocuted by DC or AC. It's just a historical accident as to why one is considered more unsafe than the other. The fight between Edison and Tesla, if you go back to the late 19th century, which is a fascinating historical deviation that we don't have time for. But the evidence bears out that both of them can harm you.
Not the pulse. The pulsed DC will not do it. You're pulsed every 1.3 seconds. It's not, you can actually go up to the plug right here in the wall, take the
Yes.
cover off, put your finger on it, it can kill you.
As I recall, when
You
you
cannot
came,
do that with my device.
when you came to us and
So
we
your
were
device
working
doesn't
on this ordinance,
Yes, ma'am.
did you not say other communities had done similar things with setbacks? I mean, it's not just like we're the only ones that acknowledge there could be
I
an
do not
issue.
recall that, no.
But you're familiar with ordinances in other communities?
Yes, could you be specific about which community?
Lincoln. Aren't you working on one in Lincoln, or maybe you're not, but they
I've
are?
already done Lincoln, Nebraska, already been
And do
done.
they have a setback from residential?
Not as I recall, no.
They do.
I don't know.
I'm very familiar with the city of Lincoln's code. They do.
Well,
Is it 300? I don't know.
It's like 250 or three. It's somewhere around there. Off the top of my head, I forget the number, but yes.
You know, I
I don't
honestly
recall,
think
so
that-
I can't recite that one, I don't know.
I just think that you've worked with enough communities to know that, you know, there are setbacks. You worked with our community. I thought we worked well with you. And then I think at that time you were happy with the result. You seemed happy with the result. You didn't dig in and say this 300 feet won't work. A mistake was made, and I understand that. But it doesn't mean we change the laws every time somebody makes a mistake to accommodate the mistake. And I'm just not open to changing the law to accommodate a mistake. It could have been done correctly. I have to believe that when the property was purchased, they knew there was a 300-foot setback. So it's not like we impacted the value. They knew that when they bought it. So I just don't, I don't see any reason to change the law just to accommodate one situation where a mistake was made.
Twice.
Anything else? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Is there a motion? Anyone else, I guess, maybe before we move forward? Anyone else? Is there a motion?
He asked about leaving it up without turning it on at the study session.
I think that'd be legal today. I don't think there's a law. Well, I don't know the extent to which you'd have to deactivate it, but the fence itself is fine if it didn't have electrical equipment on it, right?
Exactly. If he removes the battery, should be no issue.
So it's kind of up to him on that, I guess.
And this will go to second and third reading, I assume.
This is second.
It's just second.
This is first.
This is first.
Oh, that's right. You just.
This was first.
Yeah, it's just first. Yeah, last time it just got moved to
I-
public hearing.
I tend to agree with both sides a little bit. I don't, I mean, you guys helped write the ordinance. We reluctantly agreed to the 300, some of us, and some of us thought maybe 250 was okay, 350 was okay. There was some compromise. I don't like that it was done without a permit and with knowledge of the setback. I mean, that's wrong. But I do understand a business can't sustain a $20,000 loss every month. I understand that too. And I don't want to see Camping World pack up and say, well, I'm out of here because you can't sustain that every month. I mean, I realize that. So I don't know. At this point, I would say we can't change. I would not be in favor of changing it either. But as I said, there's a second and third reading. I said in the study session, let's be creative. Let's figure out a way. Hopefully, we can make it work for everybody. But there was things done the wrong way, and that's not okay. And we can't change it for just Camping World. So we'll I'll keep thinking.
I'd make a motion to decline the request to amend the ordinance.
Second.
All right, we have a motion. Is there additional discussion?
I'm going to echo the comments of Mr. Sandow, and I am very sympathetic to the idea of providing perimeter security of this nature. And it is done effectively in a number of communities. It's very important to make sure that security is provided so that business and jobs keep on moving forward. And that's why I was very interested in this ordinance being passed to begin with, because it is important for a community. Having said that, I have to agree with what Mr. Sandow was saying, that given the process on how this was moved forward, it's unfortunate, but the facts are the facts. And one of the things I want to ensure that we don't do is that we move in a manner to cause or to trigger further actions to get rid of electric fencing entirely in the community. I think that would be a mistake. So for that reason, I'm going to vote no or vote yes on this resolution to deny. Again, recognizing that you do have a right to secure your property, but it must be done within the scope of the law.
Just to confirm, if with Sharon's motion, Nate's second, to deny, it still goes to second reading?
No, it wouldn't it wouldn't based on how Councilman Ringenberg just said. That would be at least 3 votes. It would die.
So it would not go to second reading?
It would not.
Okay.
Further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. This is time and place for a public hearing on Resolution 17-244. It's a resolution authorizing the mayor and the city clerk to execute an electric easement in connection with the installation of electric facilities by Mid-America Energy as proof of publication on file.
Yes, it is.
Have any written protests been received?
None received.
Is there anyone here wishing to address the council? Anyone from the council? Or is there a motion? I'm sorry.
Motion to postpone?
Second.
Discussion?
Do you intend to postpone to the next meeting, the
Yeah,
27th? Okay.
Motion to postpone to November 27th.
Thank you. Second concurs.
Additional discussion?
I just raised, and I appreciate the motion. I just raised this afternoon, this is a piece of ground between West Canesville Boulevard and behind Vine Street, kind of that grassy, long rectangular strip, basically between First and Second Streets. Pretty long, just to the north, I guess, of the old mall, the Omni Business Center. There's just talk over time, and I know it's probably a long time in the future, if even then, of that area as we further revitalize it. We've spent a lot of money, and I think appropriately, on increasing the parking and making it phenomenal down there. And just that green area there has a lot of possibilities, even as a well-lit trail so that people can go walking or jogging, or maybe other further development in the area if the creek's ever, the next time the creek has to be dealt with, maybe part of it could come above because we still have the bridge there at First Street, and different possibilities we could do with as part of the revitalization, particularly since we've spent so much on parking for the area already. And there's some above ground power lines, and the power company has asked, today's motion is about the power company asking to run a few more lines there, which I don't think anyone has a problem with the power company running more lines, but they want to put it underground by the Omni Center, but then run 200 foot more in that green area. And there's some there already, that's true. But I think it just makes it harder for future governments to do any development in that area if we keep putting more and more stuff above ground in an urban downtown. So I just suggest we go back to the power company, and since they're willing to put a lot of it underground near the old mall, that we start when things need to be done new in the area in downtown, that we keep putting more stuff underground. We require developers to do it when they build new areas, new subdivisions. I think having light poles in the downtown is probably not a good idea long term, and let's not create more of them. It's cost a lot to get rid of them eventually, and put them underground. But at the very least, let's not put more of them. So just to keep that thought open, I appreciate the motion based on what I'm suggesting. But just ask the power company to see if if we could get them to put that underground too. It's a lot cheaper to do it now than fix it later. So that's the reason.
Further discussion? We have a motion to postpone to a date certain. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign. This is time and place for a public hearing in regards to Resolution 17-245, a resolution to vacate and dispose of that portion of 11th Avenue extending from the east right-of-way line of the South 8th Street to the west right-of-way line of South 7th Street, abutting blocks 12 and 13, Riddle subdivision. The common location identified as 1105 South 8th Street. Is proof of publication on file?
Yes, it is.
Have any written protests been received?
None received.
Is there anyone wishing to address the council in regards to this matter? Is there a motion from the council?
Motion to approve?
Second.
Is there discussion?
I just want to point out, I appreciate the staff following. It was Councilmember Sandow's suggestion of putting the common address. It is very helpful, and that was a great
Nice.
suggestion, and I'm grateful they're doing that.
That's nice.
Any other discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. This is time and place for a public hearing on Resolution 17-246, a resolution authorizing the disposal of city property legally described as lots 1 through 16, Block 12, and all vacated alley adjacent, Bryant and Clark subdivision, commonly identified as 110 South 28th Street, 28th Street and 2nd Avenue. Is proof of publication on file?
Yes, it is.
Have any written protests been received?
None received.
Is there anyone here tonight wishing to address the council in regards to this matter? Seeing none, is there a motion from the council?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Is there discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Madam Clerk?
Ordinance on first reading, ordinance 6314, to amend Title 9, Traffic, Chapter 9.34, Emergency Snow Routes of the 2017 Municipal Code of Council Bluffs, Iowa by amending Section 9.3.4.030, Emergency Snow Routes Established.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Is there discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Ordinance 6310, ordinance establishing the College Road Urban Revitalization Area within the city of Council Bluffs.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Is there discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Motion to waive third.
Second.
Is there discussion on the motion to waive? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Ordinance 6311, to amend Chapter 15.03 definitions by amending Section 15.03.595, schools to include post-secondary schools.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Is there discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Motion to waive third?
Second.
Discussion on that motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Ordinance 6313, to amend Title 9 Traffic, Chapter 9.88 Speed Regulations by amending Section 9.88.080 Schedule of Posted Streets.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Is there discussion?
There'll be a few changes. Make sure and pay attention. Pretty simple.
We'll have people there to remind you.
Yeah. You'll get reminded.
Any other discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign.
Motion to waive third.
Second.
Is there discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign.
Resolution 17-248, resolution authorizing the mayor to execute an Iowa Department of Transportation federal aid agreement number 04-18-HDP-5 for the Stephen Road East Construction Project PW 18-16A.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Is there discussion?
There was one removed.
Missed the memo.
Sharon made a motion. Who made a second?
Nate, I believe.
Okay.
Discussion on the motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign.
Resolution 17-249, resolution authorizing the use of eminent domain for the East Beltway project.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Is there discussion?
Talked about this, asked some questions during the study session. Eminent domain is a topic that sometimes gets people riled up in a hurry. Questions pertain to the owner of the property and the efforts by the city to reach out and provide an accommodation in order to keep on moving a very important road project moving forward. And I'm satisfied, having heard the city staff, that efforts were undertaken in a timely fashion, that they made efforts to reach out to the landowner and get any concerns or issues resolved. They were unsuccessful in doing that. And so under the law, this is a accepted practice for moving public projects forward. So I'm satisfied with the city's efforts on this, and I'll be voting in favor.
Other discussion?
I just concur in your comments, Councilman Newberg. I agree.
Yeah, good job, the city staff.
All right. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign.
Resolution 17-250, resolution authorizing the mayor to submit a U.S. Environmental Protection Agency brownfields assessment grant.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Is there discussion?
Just that we have a need now, we'll have a need way into the future for these types of grants, because we have quite a few brownfield areas in Bluffs, and we need to start looking at getting them cleaned up.
And for those at home who don't understand what that is, a green field would be a healthy field, a brown field, not so healthy. It's got contamination in it, so. All right. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Resolution 17-251, resolution granting final plat approval of an 11-lot residential subdivision to be known as Gethman's Gardens, replat 2. The location is the southwest corner of East Manawa Drive and Wallace Avenue.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Is there discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Resolution 17-252, resolution to amend Chapter 2.08 Schedule of Fees in connection with the building permits, correcting mislabeled units for sizing, air conditioning, and heating equipment, and correcting fees for consistency with other permit fees.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Is there discussion?
Just to be clear that today's motion is about the prospective that is going forward of this particular issue. It does not include any provision regarding any retroactivity, one way or the other.
Additional discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Resolution 17-253, resolution authorizing the mayor and city clerk to execute an Iowa Department of Transportation Agreement Number 2017-TJ-002 in connection with the I-29 interstate improvements and railroad consolidation.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Is there discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign.
Resolution 17-254, resolution authorizing the mayor to execute an agreement with Olson Associates, Inc. for engineering services in connection with the South Sixth Street reconstruction. Project PW 18-08.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Is there discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign.
Resolution 17-255, resolution approving the annual urban renewal report for fiscal year 2016-2017.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Is there discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign.
Resolution 17-256, resolution authorizing the annual certification of tax increment financing indebtedness.
Motion to approve.
Is there a second? Second. Is there discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign.
Resolution 17-257, a resolution abolishing one civil engineer one position and establishing one right-of-way agent position within the Public Works Department.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Is there any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign.
Resolution 17-258, resolution authorizing the mayor and city clerk to execute an agreement with Olson Brothers Construction for the CB Fire Station 5 Storage Building Project, FD 18-02.
Motion to approve.
Second?
Is there any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign.
Applications for permits and cancellations, 9A 1 through 9 liquor license renewals.
Motion to approve 9A 1 through 9.
Second.
Is there discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign. Any citizens requesting to be heard?
None received.
Is there anyone in the audience?
Bruce Kelly, 864 Mackenzie Avenue, Bike Trail, Sims, Mackenzie Avenue. And another thing, don't ever let your brother talk you in when you're about 4-year-old about electric fence and taking a whiz on it.
Somehow I knew where that was going. I just knew it, Bruce.
Anyone want to top that?
I didn't take that bet up from my best friend when I was about 5 or 6, so just so you know.
All right, anyone from the council?
If you're like me and you haven't paid your garbage bill yet and you realize today the deadline's Wednesday, please pay your garbage bill so you don't get stuck with a $20 late fee.
I think we have the lighting in the park on Thursday. At what time?
I left my phone in my car.
6.
Yeah, 6 to 8. So just encourage the people to come out and enjoy the lights. We've gotten private donations. The mayor has secured to have those lights in the park, and they're going to be really pretty. So I just encourage everybody to come down, enjoy the evening, enjoy the lights.
Told him my memory from last year, which is in same vein as Bruce's recollection, but last year for the first time they had live reindeer in front of the UP Railroad Museum, and thanks to the Union Pacific for providing that experience for kids. But as we were walking back, someone said, "I know we're getting closer, I can smell them," and it's actually the ginkgo trees out in front of City Hall that smelled that bad. It wasn't the deer at all. But So, yeah, come down Thursday night. The weather's supposed to be great. All right, anything else? With that, we're adjourned. Thank you and have a great
Bye,
week.
Melissa.